Happy day before Thanksgiving, everybody, and welcome to Richard Skipper Celebrates. And I'm not alone. I've got Tesla Bella here. Uh, y- y- are you muted? Uh, can uh, can you guys hear me? Nod if you can in the wings. They could all hear me. So test something's go out and come back in. So I'll tell you what's happening today, everyone. It's National Jukebox Day. And this is a celebration every year, the day before Thanksgiving, celebrating music and the soundtracks of our life. So I reached out to several of my favorite artists who are all waiting in the wings today. And we're going to come on and we're going to talk about their favorite songs, the music that they make. And here is Tess again. Now
Hi.
There she is.
Hey.
So how you look gorgeous, first of all.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
You always look so handsome, Richard.
I'm pink. I'm always pink.
Well, that's the energy of love. That's
Maybe it's the energy of love. But anyway, I am so glad that you are here today. And,
Thank you.
This is one of my favorite times of year. A lot of people become Grinches and they poo-poo the holiday music that's piping through every store. But I love this for two reasons. Number one, some of the greatest singers that ever lived are all being heard again this time of year.
So
and I
true.
think it's a great way to go out each year. And also, it brings back and evokes memories of our childhoods. Last night, I had a gentleman on the show, and we were talking about the old record stores. And I used to love to go into the record stores and just go through the record bins. And it was the artwork, it was the music, it was everything that came together. And I want to ask you, Tess, what was the first album? Or do you remember the first album?
I do. I do. It was the Beatles.
Yeah.
It was the Beatles. And you remember Newberry's, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So when my mom would take us to Newberry's, in the very, very front of the store, they had all the 45s and all the albums. And I went over to the albums and I saw the Beatles. And I came home and I played that thing till my mother wanted to run to England. Okay.
and bring them back.
And bring them back and
Yes.
and make them disappear like all the Italians know how to do, make people disappear. But anyway.
And their music still holds up so wonderfully. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite track from that album?
Yes, I do. It's A Hard Day's Night, and she was just 17.
And were you 17 or younger?
Oh gosh, I was younger. I was born in 59. I just celebrated. I'm 64. Did I catch you?
No. I'm catching you. I'm going to be 63 in 2 months.
Yeah, so maybe I was. What was I? Would be 7, maybe. 6?
Yeah. The first album I ever bought was The Best of Judy Garland, which tells you everything you need to know about me. Yeah. And I was 8 years old.
What was the name of the album?
The Best of Judy Garland.
Oh, The Best of Judy Garland. Okay.
Yes. Well, Tess, I am excited about today's show because we have 6 incredible artists waiting in the wings, and all of these men make incredible music, and we're going to talk about that today.
Okay, great.
But before we do, I've laid out 6 mystery questions.
Okay.
And I'm going to pull a number 1 through 6, and I'm going to try to tie the question into today's theme. Let's see how well we do. Okay.
3.
Number 3, and the question is, how do you get in the way of your own success? And that's a good question for you.
Your ego.
Yes.
Your ego will always take you down. You have to stay humble, and you have to have confidence, of course, but you can't have an ego. You really have to have it in a healthy way and let others toot your horn and not you toot your own horn.
Well, none of our guests today have egos, so
none.
They're not getting in the way of their success. So I want you to pull a number 1 through 5, and we will bring on our first guest. I hope you're all ready, guys. Because
5.
And our guest, he's a mystery guest, and that's Richard Holbrook. Hello, Richard.
Hi.
Hello,
Richard. Are you with us?
Hello, Richard. Hello, Ted. Happy Thanksgiving.
Hi, Richard.
So Richard joined us at the last minute
Hi.
today. So I
How are
know that
you?
he's here. And Richard, you would send out an email. Normally at this time of year, you put together a holiday show, which I've been lucky enough to attend a few times.
Right.
You're not doing it this year, but you're going to be bringing a show back in February. And the details of that will be on my YouTube channel. But what is it about the music of this time of year that resonates with you, Richard?
Well, it brings back memories of my childhood. It brings back a lot of nostalgia. Also, the music I grew up listening to. Like Richard, you said your first album that you got was the Best of Judy Garland. That was my first album, and I grew up listening to Bing Crosby and Vera Lynn and Julie Andrews and Gracie Fields. All those stars. Because my mother was British, and got introduced to British stars as well as American stars, and of course the songs of Fred Astaire, and especially with Bing Crosby and Fred Astaire, they are so associated with holidays, especially the movie Holiday Inn, and that I
Yes.
remember watching that movie so religiously every holiday season, and having seeing Bing Crosby sit down at the piano singing to Marjorie Reynolds, White Christmas.
Oh,
I think every holiday song during this season brings back a memory for everybody, a warm, loving memory, and that's what we cling to, and that's why it's special for me. And I also love the King's College Choir carols. I put them on to get a sense of calmness when the holiday season gets a bit too frenzied. But no, Christmas is probably my favorite time of the year. And I'm sorry I'm not doing a show this year. I my contract with 54, with it being 3 months, within the 3 month period, doesn't allow for that. So, but I'm looking forward to doing a holiday show next year, and looking forward to doing my show in February. And I'm hoping that you'll come. And it's saluting the Great American Songbook and
mm.
shows that Tom Nelson and I have put together. Salutes to Fred Astaire and Richard Rogers and Burton Lane, and also songs from our album from 2004, Richard Holbrook Steps Out, which contains a lot of the Fred Astaire catalog. And
Okay.
so, but getting back to your question, I love the holiday season, and I love the music. And
A few
so
years
I'm
ago,
looking forward to having a nice holiday season listening to songs. Yeah.
well, a few years ago, I had the great fortune. I did when I was doing my Richard Skipper Celebrate shows live. I reached out to Catherine Crosby to do my Christmas show, and she said yes. And to be on
Oh
stage
wow.
singing White Christmas with Catherine Crosby,
Wow.
it just took me right back to all those specials. We're going to bring on our next guest in just a moment, Richard. But do you have a favorite holiday special that you look forward to, either a special or a musical film about the holidays that you look forward to every year at this time?
My all-time favorite holiday film musical is Meet Me in St. Louis. That is my
Mine
all-time
too.
favorite because it brings back memories of home, growing up in a small town, all the customs and the traditions that we all still cling to sometimes, and just the feeling of family and togetherness that film brings to me every year. It never fails to hit me right where it counts, right in the heart. And that is probably my favorite Christmas film of all time. And the thing is, you can see it year round. You don't have to see it at Christmas, but it's just a wonderful film about family and togetherness and what keeps them there in St. Louis. They end up. I'm not going to spoil it, but they end up staying in St. Louis because of all those special things that mean so much to them.
Right.
Great. Well, we're going to bring on our next guest, but before
I
we
love
do
that.
that,
And the songs are great. The songs are great.
there are 5 mystery questions laid out, Richard. So pull a number 1 through 5.
Okay, 5.
And your question is, and I think you just answered, a lot of people get melancholy during the holiday season. Do you tend to get melancholy as well, or is this a happy time for you?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture. It's a nostalgic feeling because you're any kind of song brings you back a certain memory, and if you feel any kind of emotion or tears coming, that's okay. That's part of the holiday season. That helps us connect with our memories and also to loved ones who are no longer with us, and because we're thinking of them, and that's what makes the holiday season so special. Not just to celebrate with family around us and friends around us, but family and friends who are no longer here. Just to think of them and that they're in our memories and in our hearts. And I think that's important. And it's if you feel a little like sniffly or a little teary-eyed, that's okay. Don't be ashamed of that because that's part of the celebration too. Because we're remembering those who are dear to us and have departed, and but they still live on in our memories and our hearts.
Absolutely.
That was
Well, Tess, you're going to bring on our next guest. Do you know who you're bringing on? It's a number 1 through 4.
number 4.
Number 4. And this man, one of the great things about doing this show, Tess, is meeting new people. Some that I've never met before, I've never spoke with before today. I had reached out to my dear friend Bob Egan to do today's show. And Bob has a show tonight celebrating the music of Tony Bennett, which is live streaming, everybody, so you can watch it. But he mentioned a dear friend of his, and this sits in his basement. Can you believe this? So it's appropriate that you're here today, Lou.
Thank you.
Lou Ruvolo, and welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Lou. Great to meet you.
And I'm a fellow Italian, Tess.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I saw your name.
So, Lou, I want to talk about the jukebox. I mean, first of all, how did this end up in your home? And I'm sure you have incredible parties built around this piece of furniture in your basement.
Yeah, so it was 1985. I was working in the Bethesda, Maryland area, and there was a place there that sold pool tables and those kinds of things, and they had these restored jukeboxes. And I remember, I was probably in my early 20s at that point, and I said, "Do I buy living room furniture or do I buy the jukebox?" And my rational self said, "Buy the furniture." My more adventurous self said, "You can always buy a couch. How many times are you going to have to buy that?" And I remember working, my manager and his wife, they said, "We'll buy you pillows for furniture. So buy the jukebox." So all these years later, that is the 1953 Seeburg C jukebox. The Seeburgs, I mean, everybody, when they think of jukeboxes, thinks of Wurlitzer for the most part. AMI was another big manufacturer. But Seeburg actually is Swedish heritage. And what's really distinctive about that jukebox, number one, they had very modern technology called Select-O-Matic, because this was one of the first jukeboxes that not only could play up to 50 45s that were in it, but also it could play both sides of the 45.
Oh, wow.
So there were 100 selections then in the jukebox. The cool thing too is that this jukebox, go back and watch an old episode of Happy Days. The closing credits to Happy Days are superimposed over that jukebox.
Yes.
Not mine specifically, but
Right.
that.
Yes, absolutely. I remember. When you got it, I mean, were all of the records included as well with that?
Absolutely not. There were no records included. And so that became an interesting treasure hunt and a kind of a quest. I have a lot of older cousins. So I asked if anybody or my aunts, so I still had the 45s at the house. You'd be surprised how many people still had them there and said,
Wow.
"Take these things." I didn't know what to do with them.
Yes.
And then there was some old record shops in the Baltimore area. And so it became kind of an adventure of trying to find these records, and the collectibles label repressed some of the original songs, which made it better because then both sides, if you think back to the whole history of 45s, the A side was generally the one that was to be promoted. The B
Right.
side was, we have empty space. What are we going to put on it? And we've all heard the stories of 45s that were flipped over, and the B side became the hit.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly. What
So
was
that
what was the first 45 that you bought for the
Right,
jukebox?
right.
All right, I'm going to date myself. Tess, we come out of a similar vintage.
Nice.
We are the youngest. My sisters and I are the youngest out of all of our cousins. Our first cousins are even in their 80s now. So we were the young ones when we went visiting to visit family. They were all getting ready to go on dates, and we were left with the record player. So we had all those nice little yellow discs that we
I
put in.
remember those. Yeah.
Yep. And we did, so we had all those great old Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. But the first record I bought is a real good doo-wop by a group called Don and Juan. And the name of the song was What's Your Name?
I don't know that one.
Wow.
I could sing a few bars. Let me see if I can do this a cappella. What's your name?
Oh, yes.
Is
Okay.
it Mary or Sue? What's your name?
Wonderful.
And great two-part harmony, and it was just pleasant. But I mean, I fill that thing up with a lot of Dion and the Belmonts. I said Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, Johnny Maestro, a lot of the
wow.
old doo-wop and the girl groups, the Darlene Love and the Crystals and the Chiffons, and it's just
Wow.
so at this older age in my 60s now, it takes me back to my youth of going to visit, kind of tying into Richard's comments. You know, every time I put that jukebox on, I think of visiting family.
Yeah.
And we were never left alone not to do things, while the adults, we were sitting there playing all this great music.
Wow.
When I moved to New York in 1979, and I lived in the Bronx, and there was an old jukebox in this bar that we all used to hang out in. I was part of a theater group, and that was where we went after each rehearsal. And I almost got thrown out of the bar because there was a 45 of, are you ready for this? Lena Horne singing Rocky Raccoon. And I played it over and over because I thought it was the most unique thing I had ever heard. Lou, we're going to bring on our next guest, but before we do, and I want you to stick around, we've got 4 mystery cards laid out, so pull a number 1 through 4.
3.
And your card is, if you could meet, I'm going to make this about today. Okay. If you could meet one person that is represented by your jukebox and have dinner with that person, who would it be and why?
That's hard only because I could come up with all kinds of names on that, but I would probably pick someone who's still living, and that would probably be Dion DiMucci.
Oh, wow.
A good boy from the Bronx, nice, another fellow Italian, but that sound that everybody can think back to a song like A Teenager in Love or Run Around Sue. I did that last night with Bob live. It's so kind of cool and brings back such great memories.
And that's Bob Egan that you're referring to. So,
yes.
And Bob, I thank you for bringing Lou to the show today and into our lives. So thank you for being here. So Tess, you pull our next guest on door number 1, 2, or 3.
2.
And I am thrilled that he is here because we knew each other many years ago, and life has taken us in opposite directions. But it's good to see you, Glenn.
Oh, Richard, so lovely to see you, sir.
And Glenn, is one of the busiest arrangers on Broadway. How many shows do you have represented right now?
4 right now.
And they are? Wait, listen.
Well, the Spamalot Revival, so that's the 4th. But I did Some Like It Hot, and Book of Mormon and Aladdin are playing now.
Oh, wow.
So what can we expect?
I loved Some Like It Hot. I loved it.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. It was not as successful as we hoped. It's closing in a few weeks, but
Glenn, Richard, I'm glad you brought that up because Glenn, everybody loves the show. Everybody. I have not heard any detractors. And why do you think that it is closing?
Well, people didn't buy tickets. Was that old saying, if they don't want to come to see something, you can't stop them.
That's right.
I don't know. I mean, is it over for old-fashioned musicals, perhaps?
Oh, I
I would
hope
be
not.
sad if I would
No.
be sad if that's the case.
Me too.
Yeah, you know. I mean, of the show's
I
last
hope not
season,
either.
of the show's last season, I think Anne Juliet was the only big hit, which was a jukebox show. A very good one, I
Mm.
thought. But yeah, I don't know. It's saddening, but I think it'll have a life. I think there'd be a tour. I think maybe it would do better in London, perhaps.
Mhm.
Andrew Lloyd Webber wants to produce it in London, I hear,
Oh, wow.
because he really liked it. So we'll see.
Glenn, do you remember the first album that you bought?
Oh,
I was
great.
I'm trying to remember. I remember because I had no money as a kid, and if you went to record stores, there were cutout records. They were records that would be very cheap. So there were some cast albums there, like I had Skyscraper, and I had Stop the World, and I had stuff like that. So whatever was very cheap to buy. The first full price albums I remember buying was Godspell and Pippin,
Oh,
because I was a pianist, and those scores sound great on piano, and I just love those a lot when I was a kid.
Well, Glenn, you're pretty much, from what I understand reading your bio, that you are self-taught. And how did you get through that door on Broadway, and how did that all begin for you?
I was mostly doing nightclub. I played for Sharon McKnight, who some of you might know. I was her pianist when I was living in San Francisco. And then,
Yes.
moved to New York, and I was playing piano bars all over the place. I played the original Duplex. And then I started doing auditions because I was a good sight reader and I knew a lot of songs. So you do auditions, and then people kind of know you. Then you become a rehearsal pianist. And I could think on my feet. So then I became an arranger. It's like that.
it's destiny too. I
Yeah.
really believe that. I believe it's destiny with that.
Also, I was close friends with Peter Howard, who gave me such encouragement. One of the great geniuses of Broadway.
I miss
Uh,
him.
Yeah, I do too. He was swell, that guy. But he gave me a huge amount of help when I was starting out.
Glenn, from the beginnings of your career until where you are right now, the business has changed a lot. We've all experienced that.
Mhm.
What do you like most about the industry now, and what do you miss that was really in place when you first got started?
Oh, that's going to be awfully hard. What do I like about it now? I don't like it as I did like 5 years ago. Before the pandemic, I felt like Broadway was really booming. It was like there was so much going on. After last season, almost none of the new shows caught on. Even like The Best Winner, which was forgive me, what won Best Musical last year?
I'm trying to think.
Isn't that terrible?
Kimberly Kimbo.
Nicholas will know.
Kimberly Akimbo, which was terrific. Just it's not doing terrific business. And
Kimberly
it's just,
Akimbo.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yes.
So I miss when it was just more booming and just more going on, I guess.
But I think across the board, the movie industry is suffering. People are just not leaving their homes anymore, and I think a lot of it has to do with this little thing right here that people are live streaming. They're doing everything. I remember seeing an interview when William Shatner was doing his one-man show on Broadway, and he was on Larry King, and Larry King says, "What do you attribute to your success?" And he said, "I get out of the house." And and that's what it's about. Get out of the house, go see. And there's nothing like the experience of I was listening to an interview last night with Richard Thomas, who's doing the national tour of To Kill a Mockingbird.
Mhm.
And he says that in film, he said, at the wrap party, you'll be meeting people that you didn't even know were part of the process.
Wow.
And then, but in the theater, everybody comes together every night. And even if you're not on stage with certain people, you're hearing them on the monitor. You're experiencing this experience together. And there's nothing like the live experience.
Mhm.
So
No, we were talking about those cast albums I bought. Right now, because I have Spotify, I can just, staying at home, listen to every cast album of my dreams, which is wonderful, but it's hard not to miss what it was like to walk into a record store and look around, buy something you might never have thought of buying. I
Right.
miss that so very
Yeah.
much.
Mm.
So
well, Glenn, we're going to bring on our next guest. And
Fantastic.
before we do, there are 3 mystery questions laid out. So let's pull a number 1 through 3.
Well, let's do 1.
And your question is, I love this because I've always wanted to ask you this question.
Oh,
What's
God.
the most illegal thing that you've ever done in your profession?
In my profession, illegal?
Yes.
Oh God, what a question. How many people watch this?
Just no one's watching.
I have no idea how to illegal thing within my profession. Richard, I'm stumped. If I think of something later,
Just raise your hand and tell us.
Yes, I'm such a good boy.
I know you are.
I obey the rules, and I might have inadvertently done illegal stuff. I mean, we threw in a lot of when I did something rotten. We threw in a lot of like show tunes from other places, so that might have been illegal. Although I don't think we ever got called on it. So if something more exciting comes to mind, I'll let you know. But I don't know.
Another one of my favorite nights in the theater. Something rotten, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yes. So bring on our next guest, either door number 1 or door number 2. Tess, it's in your hands.
1.
Well, you get 2 for the price of 1 because we have Seth Sykes and Nicholas King.
Yay!
Hi, Tess.
Hello, everybody.
So last night, Seth Sykes did an incredible performance based on what I've heard at 54 Below. And Seth, you joined him last night as well.
Listen, you're so humble.
I mean, Nicholas.
It was fantastic. Well, it was wonderful because Seth is always tributing various divas and various performers. And last night, he didn't tribute anybody. He tributed more so the songs that he loves himself. And I thought it was pretty cool. It was great.
That's great.
Actually, I debuted a song written by Glenn Kelly. It's a trunk song from we found in Glenn's basement that he wrote a long time ago, for like 30 years ago.
Wow, it was?
It's
called "I'm Just a Torch Singer."
Wow.
It's
very funny.
It's a song about a torch singer who finally finds somebody wonderful to be with, and now he can't sing anything anymore. There's nothing to sing about. That's the hilarious premise that the song is built on.
Were you there last night, Glenn?
Sorry?
Were you at the show last night?
No, I wasn't actually. I was kind of frightened to see Seth do it for the first time, but I hear it went well. So.
It did go well. But Glenn, tell them where you were last night.
Oh, we saw I Can Get It For You Wholesale, which has a lot of good things in it.
And well, Seth, I'll ask you this question because have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't, and I want to because I'm listening to Barbara's book, and she's talking about her experience in the show. So I really want to see it. Have you seen it, Richard?
I haven't seen it, but I'm also listening to the book, and I have to tell you, when the book came out, Bid Bradley from the New York Times wrote, "I am at the gym listening to Barbara Streisand's audiobook, and by the time she finishes, I will have a buff body." Because it's 48 hours and 15 minutes, and I have to tell you, and Seth, you probably feel the same way. I can't get enough. I feel like I'm sitting in a living room listening to her tell these stories.
Wow.
It is like that. It is like.
It is incredible.
I think if I were to listen to it at the gym, I don't think it would help because she talks about food so much. I feel like I'd gain about 12 pounds.
She's a foodie. She's a foodie. So Seth and Nicholas, you can decide who will go first. The first CD that either of you bought. The first album.
Well, I'll go first since we're on the topic. It was at the Colony Record Store, and I bought Barbra Streisand's Greatest Hits Volume 1, the one which got the big wig on. Now,
Yes,
I didn't, I had won a CD player, a Walkman. Is that what they were called? A Walkman?
Discman.
Yes, Walkman.
Yeah, and I won it at a raffle, and I had no CDs to play, and so I begged my mother's like, "Oh yeah, I want to buy a CD." So we went in there, and I loved perusing through that Colony Record Store. It felt like Wonderland for me. It was was a little paradise, and I found this. I was like, this is the one that I want, and it was like $20, which was a lot.
It was.
But I was so excited to play it, and I put it in my thing with my little headphones, and I just was nuts about it.
And Seth?
I'm having trouble remembering the first album I bought, but the two that I remember are Boys to Men and the soundtrack for Singing in the Rain, which was my favorite movie as a kid.
Well, they're both very similar. So when are you going to do your Boys to Men tribute?
It's funny.
That's our next act. Boys to Men.
So there are 3 questions left, and I will start with you, Nicholas. Pull a number 1 through 3.
2.
And your question is, what is the most truthful moment that you feel that you've ever had singing a song?
Well, I think not to get depressing on everybody, but when we produced Mike Renzi's memorial concert at Birdland, the idea that I had as the finale was to use the final recording that he and I had done together before he passed, which was the song, Johnny Mercer's song, "I Remember You." And I took the vocals out, and we just had the piano play. And the way that I had it staged was such that I wanted a spotlight to come down. I wanted the whole room to go dark, and I wanted a spotlight down just on the keys, and just to let Mike's sound fill the air. And then I came in at the end and sang a little bit at the end. But with those lyrics, when my life is through and the angels ask me to recall the thrill of it all, I'll tell them that I remember you. I mean, I don't know that I've ever meant a lyric more in that moment, because Mike was so special to me, as you know, and we worked together for so long. And just to have that moment, and then to walk off the stage and just let Mike's piano fill the stage as a house went dark was just, I think that was probably the most special thing. I think I've never sung those lyrics the same since, actually.
That's amazing.
Beautiful.
And Seth, there are 2 cards left, 1 or 2.
1.
And your question is, what value do you care about the most in this business that you feel that you're not currently living?
What value?
Yes.
I have no idea how to answer this question.
Well, while you think about that, we're going to bring on our next guest, because he's been waiting patiently in the wings. And I am so thrilled that Steve March Torme, also known as LeBron James, is joining us today.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Hey, by the way, Tess, I've got to bring this up with you since I am a bit of a Beatle-phile, as Nick knows. The song you referred to as "She Was Just 17" is actually called "I Saw Her Standing There," and it's on that album, which is the first album I bought, which was Meet the Beatles. So,
oh my God, thank you for that. You know, when you're a kid, it's almost like when you say the Hail Mary and all the words are wrong because you've learned how.
You should mention that Lena Horne singing Rocky Raccoon.
Say it again. What is it again?
I'm sorry?
Please tell me the name again.
I Saw Her Standing There. That's the name of the song.
Standing there. Okay.
And you haven't lived until you've heard Shatner sing Rocky Raccoon. That's a whole nother.
So, Glenn, what were you saying?
Pardon me?
Glenn just said something.
Oh, no. I was just mentioning that, about Lena Horne singing Rocky Raccoon. Rocky Raccoon is a Beatles song. So
yes, it is.
Oh, yes, of course.
Written by Paul McCartney. Sir James Paul McCartney wrote that one.
There you go. What is
So, Steve, what was the first album that you ever bought?
I think it was Meet the Beatles. I'm pretty sure. And we all remember they were in silhouette. Half their faces were dark. Mm-hmm. And at that time, their hair, which is about the same length as Nicholas's right now, our parents said, "You're not wearing your hair like that." I said, "In 30 years, you'll be thankful I'm wearing my hair like that." And that's a great album. It was a bunch of really cool tunes on it.
Did you perform any of the Beatles songs in your?
Oh yeah, we do a number. I've got a bunch of holiday shows coming up called, ironically, for kids from 1 to 92. And
oh wow.
And when we're not doing that one, as Nick also knows, I got a group called Steam out here in the Midwest, and we do lots of cover stuff, including some Beatles tunes. Now, may I, since we are talking about the holidays, May I share a joke with you quickly?
Oh, God.
Yeah,
I'll make it
absolutely.
quick because I hate people that draw out jokes. So, guy walks into a bar, sits down, and he says to the bartender, "Hey, if I show you something really amazing, can I get a free drink?" And the guy says, "Sure. Show me what you got." So he pulls a mouse out of his pocket. And he puts it on the bar. He pulls out a little tiny piano, and the mouse starts playing the piano like Oscar Peterson. And the bartender says, "Wow, that's it. You got a free drink coming." The guy says, "What if I show you something more amazing and I drink all night for free?" The guy says, "Well, give it a shot." So he pulls a frog out of his other pocket, sits the frog down. The mouse starts playing piano. The frog starts singing like Nat King Cole. Unbelievable. The guy says, "That is amazing. You're drinking for free all night." A guy at the end of the bar comes down and says, "I've been listening to this." He says, "I tell you what, I'll give you $1,000 for the frog right now." The guy says, "Nah, I can't do that. The frog's a big money maker for me." He goes, "I can't." He says, "I tell you what, I'll give you $10,000 in cash right now for the frog." The guy says, "I can't turn that down. The frog is yours." The guy takes the frog. He's so happy. He walks out. The bartender comes to the guy. He goes, "Why'd you do that? Why did you sell that frog? It's probably worth millions to you." He goes, "Well, the mouse is also a ventriloquist." I only know 3 clean jokes. That's one of them. Thank you for indulging.
That's like the joke about the talking dog. Do you know the joke? And the guy passes a house, and there's a sign, "Talking dog, please take him away from here." And the guy says, "I got to see this." He pulls up to the house, and he goes in, and he says, "Do you really have a talking dog?" And he says, "Yes, he's in the back." So he goes out. The dog is sitting in the back. And the dog says, "I don't know why they want to get rid of me. I've lived in the White House. I've lived in Buckingham Palace. I've traveled the world. Everything is wonderful. And they want to get rid of me." And he said, "This is amazing." And he goes back out to the guy and he says, "Why do you want to get rid of this dog?" And he says, "Because he's a liar."
It's so stupid.
So, Steve, we're going to have a little fun with everybody in a moment. But we've got one question left, and it's yours.
Okay.
And, you know, in your business, looking back, do you feel, I don't like the word on the card, mistake. What do you feel is the biggest lesson that you've learned in this business that has propelled you to the next level?
Well, it kind of plays a little bit on what Tess said about ego, but the truth is what I've learned, and again, I keep referring to Nick because I know Nick in this group of people, and I think he's a terrific singer.
Absolutely.
And I've learned over the last, especially the last 10 years, the valuable lesson of less is more.
Oh,
Because very often when you start out, and especially being a second generation, and people, "Oh, Mel Torme's your dad."
Yeah.
I'm sure I felt at the beginning, "Hey, wait till you hear me and all the stuff I can do." And yeah, you think Dad's good, and throw too much into the kitchen. And I've learned over time, when I became hopefully a good singer, that less is more. I think that's a valuable lesson. The other thing I learned is and Nick saw me in concert, a few months ago when we did the Oshkosh Jazz Festival. I've learned that I no longer sing for me. It's no longer about, "Hey, what can I get out of this?" And, I hope chicks are watching me on stage. I sing completely for the audience. My whole experience now is I want them to come away saying, "You know what? I had a wonderful time listening to him and I was affected emotionally."
wow.
That's a big lesson for me.
This is a spoiler. If any of you were listening or reading Barbara's book, you can shut me off for a minute.
Wow.
But
It's
tells
great.
this great story in the book that after her first album came out, have you gotten this far in the book, Seth?
Yes.
After her first album came out, she received a letter from Arthur Lawrence berating her, and he just ripped her up one side and down the other. And and he said, I know you're going to take this letter the wrong way, but I really mean this in the greatest of advice to you. And she wrote back to him, and she said, "I agree with everything you've said." And she said that it's all about learning from what we've gone through and taking that advice and moving forward.
Right.
Tess, we're going to go around with Seth. Nick, did you want to say?
Well, I just wanted to add at the end of that story is that when that record won, a Grammy, she said she found it was very, very funny that he didn't reach out to congratulate her. She won the Grammy, and that she learned a lesson on that too. Is that you could show a little bit of graciousness, a little bit of humility, and that always stuck with her. That
That's right.
He took the time to write her a novel to lacerate the record, but when it won the Grammy, he didn't even say
Wow.
congratulations.
And that one segment of the book is show business in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It truly is. It really is. Tess, do you want to ask anyone anything before we move on?
I'll just say a random observation. not actually just a question. I love most of all that the gift that you've all been given just resonates every single time you're on the stage, every time you open your mouth, every time you share it. It is a gift. And I love that every one of you share that gift in your own unique way, but you're very loving and generous with it. That's my observation, because I did my homework too, and I know all your work, and it just is, it's just wonderful that you knew what to do with your gift. I guess that's what I'm saying. You knew you got the gift, but you knew what to do with it. You know how many people get that gift and they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to accept it. They don't know how to express it, and they fail miserably. And it's sad, but I'm grateful to sit amongst such amazing people, and grateful to know that you're all doing what you love at your highest level. So that's my little great gratitude for being here today.
Lou.
Yeah, yes, I just wanted to add something. I mean, my connection with Bob Egan is that I'm also a
Thank you,
singer.
Jess. Thank you, Jess.
Very amateur perspective compared to the other caliber of people on this call. But this season, I just started singing with a group called Holiday Express. It was started in little over 31 years ago by Tim McClune, who's an entrepreneur and restaurateur here at the Jersey Shore. And Holiday Express, right? We do about 100 gigs between the beginning of November until Christmas, going to some of the facilities of the forgotten, to homeless shelters, to folks that are physically, mentally challenged, to all of the special needs student schools around the state of New Jersey, and bring them holiday cheer.
Oh my God, what are you trying to do? Make me cry here? Come on.
It's just amazing. So just adding to your comment, it's one thing to take our gifts and use it for financial or our own emotional gain. It's another thing to just give it freely to folks that are somewhat forgotten and don't have that outreach. And to see the smiles on these adults and children's faces because we came and gave of ourselves to them is so much more rewarding than what you might see in a bank book or something.
That's beautiful. God bless you. Really.
Well, speaking of which, Seth and Nicholas, you just recently performed at the Actors Home in Inglewood. Am I right about that?
We did. It was really exciting. We were
Twice.
Twice. We were asked by Seth Rudetsky to go because Seth's mother, not this Seth Rudetsky's mother, is there, and he lured us there the first time by saying, we're doing a special Mother's Day concert, and Cheetah Rivera is going to be on the bill. Would you two like to? And before he even finished the question, we went, yes, we'll be there. And
There's
it was
more to that story that you don't know about. He called Cheetah and he said, "You're not going to believe this, but Seth and Nicholas are on the bill. Would you like to?"
Oh, I'm sure. It's really cool. I think that place is really cool because it's a place that's filled with people that have dedicated their lives to the same craft that we do and that we all do. And it's kind of nice to see, that not only are they being taken care of, but once you start singing songs that they know and that they love, they light up. There's like a few, former chorus girls that get up and dance, and it's so awesome to see.
Yeah.
I want to share one thing before I take off.
Yes, Steve. And thanks for being here today.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yes, Steve. Thank you. Good, great to meet you.
My pleasure. My dad had 5 kids, and none of them have children except for me. I have now. What that speaks to, that's a whole nother show. But in any event, I have 2 daughters, and these shows that we're going to be doing called For Kids from 1 to 92. Obviously, one of the songs we do is the Christmas song. So my dad never met my daughters. He passed away before they were born. But it's pretty cool that they're going to come on stage with me, and they're going to sing their grandfather's song with their dad.
Which I think might be the best Christmas song.
Yeah,
it's hard to argue with. I think I got it to Richard last year. I wrote a song and I didn't do it to compete with Dad. I don't look to do that. But I wrote a song called "I Remember Christmas Time," which is about what we've been talking about.
Gorgeous.
Thank you. And how it's nostalgic. We look back and this was what my childhood was like. and for my girls to be up on stage with me, and for me to sing "I Remember Christmas Time" and thinking of them and how they were little people when we had them, and I was in a park and I was thinking of Christmas, and you just become very tear filled. So I'm going to try and sing the Christmas song with them on stage and not look at them, because there's no way I will get through.
You won't. You
No.
won't.
But it's beautiful that that's happening. And again, I wish you a happy Thanksgiving. What are your plans for Thanksgiving before you go?
Well, we're hosting 28 people here at the house.
Oh,
Wow.
No, none of them are family, just people off the street. We're just going to
I love that.
You come
That's
here.
better. No one will fight.
So, yeah. No, we have 28 family members coming over, and fortunately, we actually get along. We don't discuss politics. We talk about how bad the Packers might be, and that's about it. And how bad a conversation can that be? So we'll have 28 people here, too much food, and we'll have a good time.
Great.
Is anyone doing the cooking, or are you having it catered? What's the?
No, my wife and I are going to do it. We're gonna dig in, and
Nice.
if the food's going to be good, she's going to do it. So
My turkey is brining as we speak.
I can get out of here. I'm going to go hit the gym.
Bye.
There you go. It's good to see you.
Happy
Thank you.
Thanksgiving.
Nicholas,
Thank
love
you.
you, my man.
I love you too.
See you
Nice to meet you.
Steve, you're welcome here anytime.
later, Richard.
Take care.
What a great guy.
He's wonderful. He's been on the show
Just
before.
Funny.
By the way, everybody who's watching, go back and look at my interview with him. It's a great interview. I had a lot of fun with him. But Glenn, speaking of the Actors Home, Peter Howard ended up at the Actors Home.
I knew that. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to go and visit him. My dear friend Dodie Goodman was there. And so I'd go and sit with Peter, and he was just the greatest guy. I've got some questions here that I wanted to ask you, because I'm always interested in about process and all of that. I'm a big proponent of The Artist Way by Julia Cameron. I do my morning pages every morning. And these questions are based on things that have popped out for me from the book. And I'll start with you, Richard. And it says, the best, I'm going to make this about our theme today. What is the best piece of music that you heard this week that you want to let everyone know about?
Oh,
What did I do?
can it be holiday?
It could be holiday related. Absolutely.
Let me see. Okay. I think. If I Rule the World, Karen Akers at her cabaret show on Monday night at Birdland. I mean, she was riveting, and it's like I heard that song for the first time. If I Rule the World by Lily Brickus, and she applied to what was going on in the world today. And someone was so right, because they said on Facebook, someone said on Facebook that she was the closest thing to Wilson right now, as in terms of being a storyteller and a grand interpreter of song. And when I heard that song, I thought that was the greatest music I heard this week. If I Rule the World.
That's great. Lou, I want to make this a little bit about Bob Egan. I know he's watching. So how did you and Bob meet, and how did you begin? I know that you do shows built around the jukebox theme.
Yeah, so Bob and I both have places here in Asbury Park, and the music scene is alive and just very positive in this area. My affection, as I spoke earlier about the late 50s and early 60s, I pick up on Steve's comment. Singing and performing for me has always been about entertaining the audience, not about what I want to do. And so in looking at, the demographics and thinking about even some of the younger folks, those songs from that period are just so reminiscent. And so we've put together a 60s jukebox show that starts with no introduction, but immediately launches into Be My Baby, just like Dirty Dancing started off. And it just really sets folks in motion that, they're there to participate, not just to sit there passively. And we go through some of those great old Carole King songs and Jerry Goffin and those, and it's a feel good type of perspective. And we've been taking it around to a lot of the 55 and over communities.
And they love it. They absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
Glenn, what did you discover about yourself
Great,
from
great.
the last
That's great.
coming back to Spamalot from the first time you did it?
Oh, it was very surreal because I kept hearing jokes that I think are funny in general, and I kind of forgot they were in Spam a lot. So I saw it opening night, and that was the first time I saw the revival. But I wrote all the incidental and dance music and all the arrangements for the piece, and I was very pleased. I thought I was pretty good then. I was like, yeah.
Still are, Glenn.
Oh, by the way, can I answer Richard's question about the best piece of music?
Yes.
Because I've been obsessed with Wonderful Town lately, and the cast album with Rosalind Russell, and I've been listening to Wrong Note Rag over and over again. It's the most wonderful piece.
Yeah.
If you want to be happy, listen to that.
Okay.
Oh, it's so wonderful.
Good.
Yes. I was lucky enough just a few months ago to go to Joe's Pub, where Leonard Bernstein's daughter also, they did a whole evening built around that show, and it was just incredible. It's one of my favorite scores.
Oh, it's a great score. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Seth, a lot of people
Terrific show.
like to complain and kvetch. Say something. No, no, not to my knowledge. Should they be? By the way,
No.
no. But I'm asking this question because a lot of people like to complain or kvetch, and it's Thanksgiving. What is something that you're truly thankful for in this industry?
I'm thankful for all the great mentors that I've had. I have, including Glenn Kelly, my friend David Cromer, who I've assisted a lot, Stephen Sondheim. I've been lucky to be around some of the greats.
And Nicholas, so have you. I know that you have. And starting out when you could barely walk across the stage. So you've been around, you've been in this business your whole life. What are 3 habits that are very much a part of your process when doing a new show?
3 habits?
Yes.
Well, the first thing I try to do is whenever I'm preparing something, I want to make sure that what I'm saying or singing or performing means something to me in that moment. It has to be relevant to me at the moment. Otherwise, if it's not real to me, then it's not exciting. I want it to be relevant to how I feel at the time. I'm also feeling prepared with your musical director, with your arrangements. Really knowing what you do. I don't really like to do totally brand new stuff. That's very scary. I mean, Seth did a wonderful job of it last night. But he's been practicing for it all month. I mean, I do the same thing. I don't like to try new things out unless I'm really, really confident that they're going to work. And thirdly, I try not to stress too much because I remember that I just really love what I do. And sometimes I can feel a little bit overwhelmed and I just have to go, stop it. You love what you're doing. Just shut up and enjoy it. Because there's so much to enjoy. And we get in our own heads and we talk ourselves in and out of things and we stress over the stupidest things. And I find that is such a waste of our energy. And I try to stop myself when I find myself spiraling into a stress ball and say, no, just remember why you're doing this in the first place, because you love it, and just have fun and enjoy it.
I was watching Bill Maher the other night, and he was talking about all this endless chatter on the internet. And he said there should be a hashtag that says #no opinion. And so if someone's going down that path and they're going to spiral into a complaint fest, say no opinion and leave the room. So, but Tess, I want to talk about you for just a moment, because Tess is one of the best voiceover people that I know. She's also an authoress, because she has a book called Merry Witchmas, which is about Santa Claus and a witch. Santa Claus doesn't believe in witches, the witch doesn't believe in Santa Claus, and they come together.
I want to get that.
You've got to get it. It is incredible. The illustrations are gorgeous. It's wonderful. But I wanted to ask you, Tess, do you sing at all?
I do.
Yes. Who are some of your mentors in this business?
This is a great story. I'm going to make it really short. My parents owned a 250-year-old hotel in Hackettstown, New Jersey in this early 70s, and it was called the Clarendon Hotel. And my dad was obsessed with music, and my Uncle Benny knew Jackie Gleason and, a whole bunch of cabaret people. And when he was alive, he made it a point to try to get some of those people out to the hotel to sing. And one particular set of guys, it was a trio. It was called the Nick Jaggy Trio. And the father Nello Masci, would entertain for us because I would be up there, waiting for them to practice and play and listen to them sing and whatever. And he used to stand on his drums and take knives and, just drum. And I was so blown away by that. But Tony Angelo, God rest his soul, he used to say, come on, come up to the stage, sing when you're smiling. And it was my dad and my favorite song that we used to sing. And by the grace of God, Jill and Rich Schweitzer, you're talking about mentors, so I'm trying to get everybody in because we're running out of time.
No, well, I want to add, you're going right where I wanted you to go.
We went into
Jill is watching.
Yes, we went into the studio and Jill and Rich held my hand and let me record that when you're smiling. And it was great. I did it for many, many reasons. I wanted to have a voice, a singing part on my voiceover demo, so that when I got into animation, the producers would know, oh my God, this kid, she could at least sing, a little melody, something. And they helped me with it. So I feel like from that point of the Clarendon on and getting that little taste of all those cabaret people coming out to the Clarendon to now, it's like God's been really good to me and put his hand on my shoulder, and everyone has helped me. So I'm really grateful to have some really great people. Avery Summers, another one that you look up to. Nicholas, I love you. I can't wait to see you. Here's the plug in Juno Beach on December the 5th. So I hope I answered the question.
Well, thank you. Jill Schweitzer, for anyone out there who's listening right now, has an incredible book called The Contemporary Singer's Handbook. I love this book. And as I am getting back into doing live performance again, I'm already booked I'll put in my plug, I'm going to be at the Laurie Beachman on February 11th, celebrating my 63rd birthday. And it's a show that I'm about to take around the country. So if you're around,
what's the show, Richard? What's the show?
Next year is the 60th anniversary of Hello Dolly. And I'm going to be telling stories about all of the women and a few men who have played Dolly, and what it was that each one of them brought to the show. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be placing it against the backdrop. Today, as all of you know, is the anniversary of the assassination of John Kennedy. Hello Dolly had its first preview in Detroit on November 18th, and then this happened, and it changed the world. And the next stop was Washington D.C., and they were all concerned about whether or not the show would have any drawing power because of what was going on in the world. But then a little 45 came out. Speaking of 45s, Louis Armstrong's Hello Dolly, and it changed everything. So, and speaking of the Beatles, that song knocked the Beatles off the charts. So a lot of stories about the history of the show. So yes, I'm going to give each and every one of you a chance to have your final word today. Thank you all for being here. Thank everybody who's watching. In this business, and I know I can speak for every single person on the show, when you show up, we don't take it lightly. So all of you who showed up today, thank you for being here. And leave a comment on YouTube and share this with your friends, and go out and see a live show. There's nothing like it. I'm going to give each of you, as we said, a chance to have your final word. It could be about anything that we spoke about that you want to build upon, anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any final message you want to leave everyone with today. I end every show by telling everyone to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. Pick up the phone and call a friend that you have not spoken to in a while. Go to your database, your Facebook list, wherever it is that you keep all your friends together, and reach out to the 8th name that pops up, and reach out with a phone call, and let that person know the impact that they've made on your life. Not an email message, not a text message, not a private inbox message, a phone call. And by letting them know the impact, especially this time of year, that they've made on your life, you're going to make an impact on their life. A dear friend, and he says, we're all in the same storm, but we're in different sized boats. And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you have a skipper by your side. And with that note, I'm going to leave the screen. And Richard, I'm going to turn it over to you. And when you finish, you will pick the next person. And everybody, leave Tess for last. So Tess, you'll close this out today.
Okay.
So Richard, it's all yours.
Bless you.
Thank you so much, Richard Skipper, for inviting me as a mystery guest. I couldn't think of a better Thanksgiving gift to give to me, to be sharing my thoughts and views with these talented artists. And I really want to say, especially to Seth and to Nicholas, what you were saying about it's all about giving. It's all about it's not about yourself as the performer. It's about giving to others and having them respond. That is the greatest reward that you can give to an audience, especially an audience consisting of seniors such in the Actors Home. And I think what you've done there deserves a big round of applause. So God bless you for doing that. And I want to say God bless you all. I want to wish you all a very happy and peaceful Thanksgiving. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. And I will turn it over to Seth and Nicholas. Thank you, Richard. I love you.
You want to go first?
First of all, thank you, Richard, for having us on here, and thanks, Tess, for requesting us. That was such a lovely gesture.
My pleasure.
I don't know. I'd say go sing for old people. It'll nourish your soul.
Mm.
I just think that I appreciate the idea around Thanksgiving and the chance it gives for all of us to reflect. I would love to suggest that we do it all year round and not just one time a year, because we have so much to be grateful for. I'm grateful for you, for Tess. You're just one of the sweetest people on the planet, and I'm thankful to get to know someone like Glenn, who's become a newer friend to me, who I just admire tremendously. Lou, I do not know you, but I'm sure I would like you just as well.
Thank you.
But I think I feel like we're very lucky. We get to be in the happy business. We're in the happy business. We make people happy with our music. We move them, or our art, our acting, whatever it is that we're doing. We move people. We make them happy, and I think that's something. If you remember that you're in the happy business, I think it's the pill to cure what ails you. So, thank you.
That was beautiful.
Shall we turn it to Glenn?
Yes, we'll turn it to Glenn.
Gee, what nice people you all are. Everyone was so nice. I just want to echo what Richard said. Everyone should see a live show, especially one that I worked on, if possible. So happy holidays. And it was a great pleasure. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye now.
Look
Well, I
at
guess
the
it's
two
just you and me,
Jersey
Tess.
the two Jersey kids.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I actually have a friend that owns a catering hall out in Hackettstown. I'm gonna have to look it up, but I want to understand because other friends just had their daughter's wedding there, but my friend that owned it, I know passed away a few years ago. I think it was called David's Country Inn.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know that very, very well. I lived in that town for a very, very long time. So
Yeah, so I have to look up. It reminds me of my friend Lou, because he was another Lou that owned it. But I think, I think one of and to add just to everyone else's comments, the wonderful universality of music and how it brings people together. And when you look at the generations, you look at the venues and the various genres of music, it's something that just unifies us as a people and gives us humanity.
For sure. For sure.
Cool. Thank you. Have a great holiday.
Thank you, Lou. You too. You and
All
your
right.
family. I'll talk with you soon.
Sounds good, Tess. Bye-bye.
Okay. Well, thank you, Richard, so much for having me today. And I felt like I was with old friends sitting in a living room and just getting to know one another. And as Lou said, we are all together in this commonality and languages of love. For me, it's food and music. But I do want to thank everybody today. Thanks for welcoming me, making me feel so loved. And I learned a lot from all of you. And I wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving. I wrote a little something that I'm going to read to you just for a little fun. Jukebox jam and memories flow. Great times together, let them show. Time to say goodbye for now. Each one of us taking a bow. The time just flew without one snafu. I pray many blessings come your way on this eve of Thanksgiving Day. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks again for a wonderful show.